Welcome to Shom Achshava on the Daf. We're holding in Chulin Daf Zayin. The Gemara towards the end of Ein Od Milvado brings Rav Chanina that said, Ein Od Milvado v'afilu kshofim. Even sorcery, even kishuf. If you have Ein Od Milvado that overcomes kishuf. The Gemara brings a story. This woman was trying to do kishuf to him, and he said it's not going to work because Ein Od Milvado. So ask the Gemara, but we know it says the kishuf makrishi pamal shemal. There is a power of kishuf. Answers the Gemara, Shai of Chanino, the Nefesh Hachayim. Simple understanding is, the schus of Chanino is much greater. The Nefesh Hachayim in Shar Gimel Perikut Beis has a gewaldige piece on this Gemara. And he asks, you want to tell me if Chanino was relying on his schusim to be saved from the kishuf, to be saved from the sorcery? We know that no tzaddikim relied on their schusim. How do we understand this Rav Chanino that says that Nefesh Hachayim and therefore you have Ein Od Milvado? So Nefesh Hachayim explains that all the koiches hatumo and kishuf and all the different powers you have in the world, they're all subject to HaKadosh Baruch Hu. There is indeed these powers, but a person can elevate himself to a higher place, to a higher dimension, where he says Ein Od Milvado, meaning he gets to a place where he realizes and it's clear to him that HaKadosh Baruch Hu controls every single power in the world. When you get to that level, so then all these koiches cannot affect you. Says Nefesh Hachayim, ubemesu inyan gadol v'zgula nifla. It's a great zgula. La'asir u'levata me'alav kol dinim v'retzoynei sacherim shelo yuchlo lishlot boi v'lo yasu shum roishim klal. In order, you want to have a zgula to get away from any types of different bad influences or bad koiches in the world, to say Ein Od Milvado. A person says Ein Od Milvado, he reaches that level. There's a famous story with the Briskerov that was running away from the Nazis, and he came to some checkpoint, and the Nazis were there. And he said to himself, Ein Od Milvado, Ein Od Milvado, I'm connecting myself to a higher dimension of HaKadosh Baruch Hu only, and they didn't see him. They let him go, let him pass through. That's the power of Ein Od Milvado. You can connect to also what is brought down in the Sefer Ikrim. It's brought down in the name of the Rambam, that the pasuk says, Rabim machoivim l'rosho. The Rosho has a lot of pain. Someone who relies on Hashem, he has chesed. So as the Rishonim, it seems to be that what's the opposite of a Rosho? A tzaddik. I should say, Rabbi Machoivim LaRosho, v'tzaddik chesed yisovenu. Why does it say Hashem? So says Bala Ikrim, says the Ramban, you should know that anybody who relies and trusts in Hashem, he puts Ein Od Milvado in front of him, even if he's a Rosho. Even if he's not doing mitzvahs, HaKadosh Baruch Hu saves him. Chesed yisovenu. A true reliance on Hashem, Hashem miftacho, so HaKadosh Baruch Hu is the miftach of this person. So he says Nefesh Hachayim, this is Rav Chanina saying, not that he has chusim because of his mitzvahs, but he knew he's living in that darga that every single yid can get to. The darga that you have in front of you, Ein Od Milvado. So he knew the kish will not affect him. This pshat, our Gemara and the pshat of Nefesh Hachayim, with this my Rabbi Rav Moshe Shapiro Zatzal came to answer a very difficult Rambam. The Rambam in Perikut Aleph Milchus Avodas Kachovim, he says in a very strong way that anybody who believes in all these kishuf and shadim and all the metaphysical things that you have in the world, if anybody believes that this is true, so he's michlal aksalim, he's considered to be a fool. They know clearly whatever the Torah says not to do, it's all shtusim, it's not real. All the koiches you have in the world. So famously the Vilna Gaon in Yoredeo Simin Kufa Intes Siv Kotan Yud Gimel, he attacks the Rambam in a very strong way, a way that only the Vilna Gaon has the power to do so. And he says in very strong words, he says that Hu nimshach achar ha-philosopher haruro. Says the philosophy made him make a mistake, the Rambam, because the philosophy doesn't believe in things that are not in reality, things that are metaphysical. Says, but look at the Gemara. We have the stories of all the inyanim of kishuf, of shadim, of ruchim. It's all there. So it says the Vilna Gaon, of course it's all true. Of course they believe in them. There's a pnimius to it, but everything is kepashton. There's always all these things that brought down the Gemara are really there. So the shaila is, what does the Rambam mean? How can the Rambam say that all the inyoni kishuv and shadim and things with koiches of tumo, all the bad influences in the world don't exist? The Chur's mamash clear everywhere in Torah and Gemara. Says Rav Moshe Shapiro Zatzal, the Rambam is referring to Nefesh Hachayim and what we see in our Gemara. Of course, all these things are real. But if a person lives his life an Ein Od Milvado, He lives in a higher dimension, so these things won't affect him. That's what the Rambam means. Rambam says this is not roy for someone who's chacham. It's hevel v'rus ruach to be living in a world where you're oisik with all the koiches atuma. It's a toyu ve'hevel, because if you're living there, you're living in a lower world. Yes, they are real. It's there in the world. But a person can elevate himself if he's a chacham to a higher dimension, to the dimension of Ein Od Milvado, and then all these things will not affect him. They won't be real for him. And according to what we learn, that's what Nefesh Hachayim says. You don't need to have the schus to be that level. Every yid can be there. That's what Chulin is teaching us. Ein Od Milvado ksif. Is the kishuf? There's kishuf. But if you're in the level Ein Od Milvado, the kishuf will not affect you. Anybody who wants to join or sponsor the Shor Machshava Shiurim, please email shormachshava@gmail.com.